Hey everyone, Anthert here with another episode in the Starting Out series. This is part 2 of episode 3, Intermediate Gear. We are now in the campaign world proper, as you can see. What I'm hitting here is the non-basic stone node. It is the non-basic version of the basic cobblestone node. As you can see, it has these nice little wispy, glowy effects. That helps you notify, or rather helps you identify it in the world as a non-basic or premium node. The type here is granite. For our purposes, we don't really care about the type too much. When it comes to stone, the type that you are using isn't necessarily important. For other things, especially ore and wood, it's much more important. You can see those combinations or recipes, what types in combination give you what stat effects, in a nice spreadsheet that the Winterblades Guild has put up. I will put a link in the description below to that. Here we see copper. Copper is one of the good ores for making items. It gives you an attack power bonus. The ore nodes that you see around the rune gate here are pretty good because the immediate area, the immediate parcel of the rune gate exit has a protection effect. Any enemy player which steps onto that parcel will begin to take damage and will die. You can see here at the top below the compass, it does not say the parcel name. That tells you that I am off the rune gate parcel and can be attacked by players, and they won't be taking damage, so they can kill me. I will move back onto the parcel shortly, where you will see the title again. Coming up here on the left, you see one of the Motherlodes nodes. There it goes. I will put a link in the description to my previous video about Motherlodes and how to harvest those. Now you can see again I have the order rune gate notification under the compass. So some of the rune gates are not as good as others in this respect, where the faction can harvest, the non-basic nodes in safety. It is an interesting progression that the developers have put in the game, which it doesn't handhold you with pop-ups and tooltips and things like that, but the progression is pretty natural, similar to what I've done with these videos. Is you make your basics by harvesting basic resources in the starting area beachhead, then you make some advanced tools, then you go out into the real campaign world and harvest these non-basic nodes. You can do that in safety, as I've mentioned, on the parcel or just off of it. There are also the outposts with guards that can help protect you pretty close to the rune gate. I believe all of the factional rune gates do have a few, at least, non-basic nodes on the safe rune gate parcel, and an outpost fairly close by where you can cook food and take protection if you need with the guards. Now we have the premium or non-basic wood node. These again have combinations that are beneficial. Combining different types of woods will give you different effects. So we've got our non-basic resources ready to craft the intermediates. We're going to go back into the starting area. There are two ways to do this. You can walk up manually and go to the gate like I'm doing now. This method is good when your recall power is on cooldown or you can't use it. The thing about this one is it puts you in a strange place. It puts you on the rune gate parcel inside the starting area, which is way far away from the main gate. So we're going to go ahead and use the recall power, which has, as I said before, normally a timer, so you can't use it whenever you want. Right now that timer seems to be disabled. Oh, actually no, you can see it's on cooldown. So that puts you right next to the temple, next to the local bank chests. Oh yeah, the parcel also contains the vendor, which can sell you some basic gear. Generally you don't want to use that because you can make that stuff in a minute or two. There's no need to spend gold on that. So here we have the general crafting table again. You're going to see now we're going to make the intermediate components, which are required for the intermediate weapons. It is the only thing these things are required in. Here we have the metal billet, which is the intermediate version of the metal bar. Now, because we're using non-basic resources, I have the opportunity to experiment on different stats. Here we see I'm experimenting on attack power. The reason attack power is the stat given again is because I used copper. Different metals will give you different stats to experiment on, and of course these additional stats will be passed on to the weapon that we're going to make. Here we're going to make the intermediate one-handed axe. Now these intermediates require a basic weapon as one of the components, so I'm using my earlier the axe I created earlier to fill that slot, along with the metal billet and some dust. And as you can see already, the damage is much better than the basic. It's a significant difference. We also have the opportunity to experiment on the damage, which I'm going to do now. And as you can see, we're starting with 44 to 59. I get an amazing success, a 4-pip amazing success, which is not as good as a higher pip one, but it's still a significant increase, as you can see. As I've mentioned before, a very good result intermediate weapon can be as good or better as a very bad result advanced weapon. The important thing is that you can make that intermediate far earlier than you can make the advanced. You also don't need the training or the recipe unlocked or the access to the advanced crafting station. So the thing about dual weapons, which some of you probably know, is that the main hand is the only case where the damage counts. The offhand weapon, offhand slot does not take the damage calculation or damage amount into account when it does its damage calculation on your target. It's only using it as a stat stick, so things like attack power and so on. So when you have two weapons, generally you want to use your higher damage weapon in your main hand slot, your lower damage weapon in your offhand slot. So here we go, making the second one. If we get a better damage result on this one, we're going to use that instead as our main hand. You can see the comparison there. Try another damage roll. I doubt I will get better than an amazing. No, just a basic success. But still better than a basic. And you know, early game, when you, especially if it's after a wipe or at release, you don't have a lot of passively trained skills. Your damage is going to be lower than it would normally. So making these intermediates as soon as you can is extremely important. I'm naming this one, even though it's not as good as the other one. Now, the other thing to keep in mind about these weapons is they have more durability than your basics. Damage is important, but durability is also important. You take durability loss now through use. So anytime you're in combat tray, your weapons will slowly tick down their durability, and this piles up, especially for classes with two trays like the Ranger or the Druid. You can even just be standing around not actually attacking targets, and your weapons will lose durability. Now here's an important thing. I've actually kept this in, although it was a mistake. You'll notice that the intermediate component and the advanced component are in the same category. This is the plank. It came out not wood because I used a combination of non-basic wood which does not exist in the recipe categories. So there's no actual result for this. Typically it will come out as undefined results, I believe is the term they use for other things, but this is what happens for wood. What I should have made was a board. The actual wooden board is the corresponding non-basic intermediate material component, similar to the billet. So I won't make the bow, but it's not really necessary. The principle here has been demonstrated. You see the increase in damage numbers on the weapons. Going to go back to the training dummies and do some attacks there. I will put a link in the description below, or just a tag in the video showing the previous video where we did the dummy attacks with basic weapons, so you can compare. It'll give everyone a good idea of the type of damage increase you can expect to see. It's a good investment of time and effort making these intermediate weapons. Especially if you are not part of a guild and you don't have access to advanced weapons, or you don't have the training, it'll make things a lot easier. So that is the process you really want to follow for the first half hour to an hour of your game when you're starting out. You make your basic tools, you make your basic weapons, you make your intermediate tools, and you go out of the starting area. You harvest those non-basic resource nodes, collect those materials, make your intermediate weapons, and you're in a good position to do advanced things like attacking mobs, collecting gold, venturing out even to some of the points of interest or the forts, and get yourself into the game. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to continue the series, and I hope to see you next time.